Hello, Son Up on 7 family. Welcome back to your show, and I'm glad that you're not missing it. If you're just tuning in, you missed out on a great performance by Nicole Craig, and her performance, the name of the song is Raise My Voice. And it basically rings the alarm for us to do our best to protect our resources, connect with it, and let's make one with it. I mean, it's an amazing song. You can go on her YouTube channel and you can find it. Nicole Craig, Raise My Voice. So Nicole mentioned something very important as we were talking about the Reef Report card. And one of the things is how this influences or contributes to enforcement. So we talked about it on the couch and it's been all over the news. There was a fisheries boss and of course it came with a hefty fine. So today we're gonna be understanding, what the enforcement is about, how can you abide by the legislations, and of course if you decide that you wanna go on that illegal side, what comes with it. So to give us the insight into that, we have representatives from the Fisheries Enforcement Unit, Mr. Hampton Gamboa and Mr. Nikion Gomez. Good morning to you both, gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are you, Mr. Hampton?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us on the couch today. How are you, Nikion?
I'm doing fine.
Good?
Yes.
I love it. I like your name. It's pretty cool.
They're like fancy. When I come with Hampton or think about the Hamptons and all that stuff, when I come fancy on this show, man. I love it. I love it. Right. And I mean, we might have your dance later on because you're going to watch Nicole enjoy yourself. So we might have a Lee song to make you dance, yeah? Make on a boat dance.
No. We can talk about enforcement. We can do.
We have to enforce for dance. No. I feel like we might make it happen, guys.
No.
But let's get this conversation on the road. We might make you pass this time. We'll see how life goes. But
sure.
This case has been something a lot of people are paying attention to because especially the amount of fines that came from it. Normally when people think about, illegal fishing, they don't really think about thousands of dollars, Yeah. Maybe they think about hundreds and so forth. But I guess I want us to dive into, the premise of this case, why it costs so much. Because I think people don't understand when they saw the amount, they're like, really? So much, and I don't think they understand the severity of what took place to get to that point of over $150,000. So if you can be able to just dive into that to explain so people can understand.
Okay, sure. What happened is that Nicole was critical in explaining the importance of having a healthy reef. I mean, that comes with a lot of component, like what she mentioned, different parameters and so on that they have to monitor to dictate or to state exactly the health of the reef. Now, one of the most important things about that, she also mentioned the fish aspect, which was her third point. As you can see on the screen, those are the most important type of fish that assist with the health of the reef. These are the grazers. For those who don't really know what grazers mean, these are the ones that actually cleans the reef. They feed on the algae that grows on the reef, and therefore we have to try our utmost best to protect them. Around 2009, we have what was considered a Species Protection Act for Belize, an SI, for Belize, which assists us with protecting primarily our parrotfish, and most recent parrotfish and doctorfish. That SI covered. And now the most recent SI has covered angelfish, all right, which is very important because they also are they also are grazers, and the triggerfish. So these guys were found with 70 odd parrotfish. In addition to that, they were found with 24 angels and triggerfish. So hence the reason for the healthy fine. Now, fortunately, the government was able to pass a law, the Fisheries Act, and in support of the Fisheries Act, fines and penalties administered per. Now, because that falls under Section 88, Species Protection Act of the Fisheries Resources Act 2020, now that fine says for everyone who commit an offense, whether it's triggerfish, parrotfish, or angelfish, they have to pay a penalty of 1,000 Belize dollars per. In addition, they would be fined a penalty of anything from 5,000 Belize dollars up to 150,000 Belize dollars. So yesterday in court, the magistrate chose to use $10,000 fine, which is unprecedented, which we must say, we very applaud the magistrate who had a review of the act herself in court and then made her decision. And for each one, they were fined 1,000 Belize dollars. Hence the reason it was 100 pieces So it's 100,000 plus it's 5 offense because it was so much parrot fish, so much angel fish, and they were different species. So there were 5 offense and they were $10,000 for each penalties. So hence the reason 150,000 Belize dollars was levied. All right. I want to say, the guys them out in the field, as you showed earlier, it's at this incident happened at Lighthouse Reef. So I would definitely need to big up the Belize Audubon Society and the Belize Coast Guard, because the Coast Guard also works with the Belize Audubon Society out on Lighthouse Reef, conducting daily patrols and so on. And this is something that these guys been monitoring for the past few weeks, because they did get some information about it. So like everyone who is engaged in enforcement will tell you that enforcement is a timely venture, because you have to do your investigation and then hopefully you're able to nab them in the act, like in this case.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank you. Thank you for giving us that background into what were the charges and to why that amount. Because as Renata said, a lot of people were really thinking, did they really have to be charged an amount? But we see the importance as to why that enforcement and those penalties are there. I'm also thinking, and maybe Nikian, you can help me here, is that there needs to be a demand somewhere for people to actually go and take out so much parrot fishes, if we look at that, for instance. How does the Fisheries Enforcement Unit go about tracking where the demand is and enforcing penalties as well there?
Well, for us, we will try to do, it's a joint, it's a collaboration, so we will work with Coast Guards and even with the local fishers to try and get intel on where these products are going, no? We also have information that from time to time these products go across the borders, right? So it's a demand over that side. I mean, they get more, and they know that here the fine is very high for it. So we as enforcement, we always try to boost up our operations to try and minimize the transbordering of these products, right? So
What happens to this? Like you mentioned, right, for like the 100 and it seemed like a lot of fish, like just for the parrotfish itself. What happens to all this fish when it's confiscated? Like where does it go? I can't put it back in the sea. So what happens?
Yes, good question. What happened is yesterday, because I had the privilege to be in court yesterday while my prosecutor, I want to say that for sure. Mr. Hall did an excellent job in court yesterday in translating the actual act and have the magistrate being on point.
Yeah.
She passed a ruling that the product is confiscated as a property of the government of Belize. Since that happens, that gives the fisheries administrator the authority to ensure that it is properly disposed. I don't want to say disposed. It's properly given to a different feeding program in the city or wherever he deems fitting, right? Because even though it's parrotfish and it's herbivorous and everything, the demand, like what you asked Nikian earlier about, a lot of it is because the cost of fish fillet, right? It's the cost of fish fillet. The cost of fish fillet in Belize standardizing in the restaurants and in the resorts in particular, which is a high tourist. You see, the thing is with it, the fisheries sector, it's not isolated, The fisheries sector, basically, there's a high demand from the tourism sector, from the international market for fisheries resources worldwide. So therefore, there's a demand. The cost of fish fillet in Belize right now is roughly between $16 to $18 a pound, right? If you go to Placencia, San Pedro, the price might even increase more. So the risk for these guys, and hoping not to get caught, they choose to do it, But the fines and the penalty, definitely, I must say, under the new Fisheries Act, the Fisheries Resource Act of number 7 of 2020, gives us all these fines and penalties. Prior to that, it was a joke for a lot of the fishermen because they were a lot of repeated offenders. But things like these send home a message now, and we hope that it will curb the illegal activities, okay? A huge thing on the international forum when it comes to fisheries enforcement is the aspect of IUU. That's illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing. In Belize, we are privy, we are blessed. Now, I usually use the term, we only have IU in Belize because we have the regulations, so it's not unregulated.
Yeah.
It's just the fact of we need more resources to assist us in
Yeah.
carrying out these operations. As you could see, Lighthouse Reef is 52 miles more or less, or 56 miles from Belize City. For you to have people on the ground out there on a regular basis, it takes a lot of resources. When we patrol basically from Belize City to anywhere in the south, that automatically we need like 300 gallons of fuel, 250 gallons of fuel, just to get into the details of enforcement and what needs to go into it.
That would
So-
be like a 3 or 4 days patrol, thereabout. With that amount of fuel, it would be roughly about between
And
3
you
to
start
5
really
days.
adding those up.
Per month.
Per month, yeah.
And the cost of fuel.
And the cost of fuel.
Doesn't go up.
Yeah.
And I can't catch San Pedro at a taxi with that $79 ticket. No, but definitely. I want to ask because
Sure.
there was a clause or something said about how for the fishes that don't have the skin,
Yeah.
there was $50
bucks.
to $100.
Correct.
Can you explain to me why that is something necessary too as well?
Okay, great. What happened, all this extend back to the great 911 situation, when a lot of US, after the 911, a lot of inflow of high cruise tourism came to Belize after 911, because a lot of people was afraid to travel Europe and those other countries.
Okay.
So the demand and also the overnight stay. You can look at this at BTB. They will give you the stats. I mean, since 911, tourism soared in Belize, all right? Now, with that comes the demand of the beautiful resources of the fisheries sector, lobster, conchs, fish fillets, all right? So therefore, there is this demand for that. Now, what happened, these same parrotfish are the ones who, like what I repeated, are the grazers. So the fishers in those tourist destinations were harvesting these, and it was legal at the time.
Okay.
So because of things like doing reef assessment, fish assessment corals, we realized that these were being killed off in substitute to meet the demand for. So therefore, we had to go out, collect all the data information, and then brought an SI into existence to assist with curbing that type of activity. Now, we have, along with the Species Protection Act, in there it says every fish fillet has to has a 2 by 1 inch skin patch so that we can identify, so that we don't know that it's, we have to be showing that it's any of the protected species, all right? So if you breach that, like for example, these same guys, they had 100 parrot, angelfish, and so on, but they also had in their possession 68 fish fillet without skin patch. So the court also administered a fine to that of 50 to 150 Belize dollars per. In this case, they gave him $50 for each one. So that also added up. So his actual fine ended up to be all over $53,000 or $56,000, $156,000.
Yeah.
All right? So it is for the species protection. You want to ensure that you have these fish in the wild as long as possible. So we have to protect them. So hence the reason why fish fillet without skin patch, whether you have it in your, and the law says possession. So if the fisherman already sell it to you, then you have to ensure and you know what you're buying,
That is true.
having that skin patch on it.
I really appreciate this conversation that we had with Nicole, talking about the data as it regards to fisheries, and now having this conversation with enforcement, because we see how they go hand in hand. You know, you need to have data to see what kind of regulations you need to
Correct.
have, and
Yep.
also regulations to help protect the status of the reef.
Like Mr. Hampton said, things
yeah.
actually change over time.
Definitely.
Like, you know, what
So
was
it's really
not
been
illegal
an
now
enlightening
is
conversation.
illegal.
Yeah, yeah.
Gives us a holistic approach into what fisheries is all about. So as we wrap up this conversation, I'm going to invite Nikki. You know, it's been quite quiet here. If you have any last words for our viewers.
Or for our
so we-
fisher folk
or for
out
our
there.
fisher folks out there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just want them to, for the fisher folks to continue to abide by the fisheries laws. I mean, it's very important, you know, for the future generation coming up. So I just want them to continue to abide. And for the ones who choose not to abide by the law, then,
They know what's.
yeah,
We
we're coming.
Yeah. I mean, what about some people say, hey, I have no idea what are the fisheries laws. Where can they find those to get a guidance as to?
Well,
What's legal
they
and
can always come to the office. We have the fisheries regulations on a printout, so come at the office and we can provide them with the information.
Is it available online as well?
Yes.
At the fisheries, we have a Facebook page that we're always updating, and also we also have a department page, which is basically BelizeFisheries Department.org. If you go online, you can view all these things are already posted there too. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
yes, and we have a lot of our annual reports there. Things like fisheries enforcement for the past so many years. We do have annual reports so people could look at. It's private, it's up there.
Right.
And even the regulations are up there.
Perfect. So you don't have no reason whatsoever to say you never know. Because
Yep.
I'm sure if you never see it, maybe they don't in the archive somewhere, you could message and say, hey, sir, please send me this thing. And I'm sure somebody is gonna answer with no problem whatsoever. So please let us try to protect our reef, our oceans, our sea, every single thing, guys. It's up to us. We have the responsibility because we need the hurricane season to come out right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
All of these things we have to take into consideration. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for
Sure.
being here. You know the dance because I'd be nice, but the next time I come on, we'll make a dance. Because you'll come on and get that. I don't know, I'll come on for something for tell about.
Man, a good dancer, man.
You see, and it just don't want, don't you? But we also do have to do a big up, right? Because apparently, is your mother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
Okay, his mother-in-law, Miss Joyce Flowers, from Raku Tree, give me the whole street and everything,
Aye,
you know.
of course.
She is an avid viewer of Sun Upon 7, so big up yourself, Miss Joyce.
Thank you, Miss
You
Joyce,
never
for
want
watching the
dance,
show.
so you have to reel up with that. And next time, make it dance, yeah? I'd ask you from, the Sun Upon 7 family. But thank you so much, gentlemen,
you.
for
Thank
being
you to you
here.
both.
Thank you too.
And with that, we go to our next commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be talking about work permits, guys. So stay tuned for that exciting conversation because things are going online, digitization. Let's use technology for our benefit.
Yep.
Stay tuned for that exciting conversation. We'll be right back.